Hey folks, this is Eric J. So I just spent more time than I'd like to admit looking for a solution to a problem here in Clip Studio Paint on the iPad. And in a moment of trying to be the change that I'd like to see in the world, I thought once I figured it out, I thought I'd go ahead and do a really quick tutorial on it so that hopefully save you the pain that I just experienced. So I've been using the iPad version of Clip Studio Paint for probably about a year and a half now, maybe two. And previous to that, I had been using it on the desktop. Now, drawing word balloons on the desktop is a little bit different than drawing them on the iPad. The basic function is the same, but the advanced editing is a little bit different. And this, just up top disclaimer, this is not a lettering tutorial. I am not a professional letterer. There are a lot of professionals out there that can give you much better tips on the art of lettering than I can. This is also not a tutorial on basic word balloon placement and or drawing in Clip Studio Paint. I will go over that briefly, but this is more about the advanced techniques and using the control point tool to edit your balloons specifically down to the nth detail. When you're using the desktop version, it's the same the basics are the same. You choose your word balloon tool, come up and bring up your subtool here, and I'm now on the desktop. I generally use the ellipse balloon because even though I don't like the perfect oval, you can very easily on the desktop version get rid of some of these control points to manipulate it to make it what you want it to be. And so if you come in to the object tool, and when we're talking about editing, I'm not talking about the universal bounding box that controls the shape and size of the overall balloon. I'm talking about getting in tight to the control points. Now, when you draw with the ellipse balloon, you get all these curve points, and that's just way too many. It's too many. And so when I was on the desktop, it was a simple matter of like right-clicking on these things, and you could just like make them disappear. I generally get it down to where it's like around maybe 5 or 6. That generally is all I need. But I stopped using the ellipse balloon on the iPad because that's too many control points, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to get rid of them. So instead of using that, I started using the rounded balloon. And I started using the rounded balloon because it's a little closer in shape to what I want anyway. It's it's got a little bit more of a rectangular aspect to it than the full-on ellipse. And when you go in to manipulate the control points, it's got this beautiful, 3, 6, 7, 8 control points. And so that seemed like a really good thing until I discovered that these side and top and bottom control points are not 1 point each, they are 3. The way that they achieve the rounded quote-unquote-ness of it is they have a curve here bounded by 2 corners. And it's easy enough to separate them out, and you can start to manipulate them. But you can already start to see the problems that I was running into, which is that those corner points aren't curves, and they make a little scallop at every point that they're at, and or a little angular curve. And you can see right here in this bottom right area, I've kind of camouflaged it but it's still there. There you go. And again, on the desktop version, it's dead easy to get rid of that. You just right click and switch it to a curve. But on the iPad, I found no way to delete the points. I found no way to switch them from the curves because I'm a raster artist, and I've never once in my life had a reason until I started working with word balloons and panel borders. And you vector artists probably know exactly where I'm going with this, to use the control point tool. And it is the strangest thing, but there is no documentation that tells you to use the control point tool with regard to word balloons in any of Clip Studio Paint's documentation. There's not a tutorial out there talking about using the control point tool to edit your word balloons. So if you run into this problem, you just might not know what to do. Like I didn't know what to do. And now I know what to do, and now so do you. So you go to the control point tool, and then down in this subtool property menu, you see switch corner, and that's literally all you do. Just go in and hit those points, every one of those boxes, those little open boxes that indicate a corner. You hit those with that, and you get your nice curves. And now you can come in and you can manipulate it to your heart's content, which is important to me because I like my word balloons to be a little bit wonky. I like them to look a little bit like a person that had one too many Guinness probably drew them. It's not necessarily the right way or the only way. It's just the way I like it. Now, that all could have been avoided if I'd come to this, using the control point tool earlier, because the same problem that I was having with the ellipse can be solved just like this one is. So let's go back to the ellipse and draw that in. Perfect ovals that look gross. And then you come in and you get all those control points. Oh my God, look at all those control points. Just too many. So we come back to our control point tool and we hit the handy delete control point option and just start massacring control points. Just massacre them. Just get them out of there. Go away. We don't want you. And like I said, get it down to where it's like, 5 or 6. It kind of doesn't matter because like the beauty of the control point tool, you can just add more if you find out you deleted too many. All right, now look at that. We have all the control points we need. We actually might have too many. No, we got, oops, let's not do that. And so we're back to where we were with our rounded. And I mean, honestly, you can get there using the curve balloon. That makes it really easy. But, you kind of need to know sort of what you want, and you're still going to be to the point where you're like, oh, well, look at that, man. I think I might have too many. Yep, I got about enough control points to make it how I want it to be. But yeah, so the control point tool, very, very important when you're working on the iPad and trying to draw word balloons. And knowing from this point, it's very simple to draw like a thought balloon, for instance. I mean, I know they're out of vogue, but if you wanted to, you can. You just come in and maybe add in a couple more points. Add back in a couple more points. And then go ahead and make those into corners. And now our scalloping is going to be not a problem, it's going to be a benefit. It's going to be the point. We're going to come in and we're just going to, you know, drag out our curves. And this is just for demonstration purposes, not meant to be the world's best dot balloon. Maybe drag in these corners a little bit. And there you go. Kind of crappy, but still dot balloon. And now if you just reverse that action, you get yourself a, oops, switch the corner. Go back to object tool. Now if you drag out the corners and drag in the curves, well, now you've got an exclamation. Like so. You might be saying to yourself, well, Eric, why would I need to do any of that? Because, like, you know, Clip Studio Paint has all kinds of specialty word balloons already loaded up in the materials window. And I'd say, you know what, you're right. When you're drawing comics, you want to save time wherever you can. So absolutely make use of those. Make use of those preloaded word balloons, but don't feel like you are stuck with them, because you're not. They can be a really good starting point, but knowing that you've got your handy control point editor tool at your disposal, you can now come in and, instead of just leaving it as this sort of generic preloaded one, you can start to manipulate it and make it your own, so that you don't end up with the same exact word balloons that every other Clip Studio Paint user uses. Like so. It becomes really important when you've got, you know, dialogue that doesn't quite fit the prefab word balloons, and you can make them fit. So it's a really powerful tool. And one I took for granted when I was using the desktop, because, like I said, all of the actions that you're doing here, that you're taking here on the iPad, they're all on the desktop. It's all right click this and option click that, but it just doesn't work that way on the iPad. And so if you don't know about the tool, you might be kind of scratching your head, and or just using the default ellipses and ovals and kind of leaving it looking kind of crappy. And you don't need to. You really don't need to. The power is in your hand. I've just given you the keys to unlock your limitless imagination. Go forth and create, my lovelies. Hopefully you found this tutorial to be informative. If you did, give me a like and a subscribe, and follow me on my Patreon. That information will be coming up at the end of the video. It's patreon.com/EricJ. And look forward to my upcoming comic book, Bury Me in Starfields, coming to you soon. And until then, I will talk to you in the funny pages. See ya.